Have you ever felt a strange shift in the air at a specific time of day? A moment so quiet, yet so heavy, that it feels like the veil between worlds grows thin? For most of us, it's a fleeting sensation, easily dismissed. But what if it's not just a feeling? What if, at one precise moment every single day, a battle of cosmic significance takes place, an event that echoes from the highest heavens to the deepest, most tormented corners of existence? There is an hour, shrouded in both sacredness and sorrow, that holds a profound secret. An hour that a humble Polish nun was shown carries a power so immense it can alter the fate of souls. That hour is 3 in the afternoon. And the secret concerns what happens in hell at the very instant the clock strikes 3. This isn't a theory or a forgotten piece of folklore. It is a direct revelation recorded in the private diary of a saint who conversed with Jesus Christ himself. Her name was Sister Faustina Kowalska, and she was tasked with a mission that would change the world, to be the apostle and secretary of divine mercy. What you are about to hear is not meant to simply frighten, it is meant to awaken. We will journey into the heart of one of the most powerful mystical experiences of the 20th century. We will uncover what Saint Faustina heard, what she saw, and what she was commanded to share with the world about this mysterious and powerful hour. What exactly did Jesus reveal to her about the events that unfold in the abyss at 3 p.m.? The answer is both terrifying and filled with an almost unbelievable hope. Stay with me, because the truth of this moment holds a key to understanding divine power, the nature of suffering, and the incredible mercy available to every single one of us, even in our darkest hour. To understand the weight of this revelation, we must first understand the woman who received it. Helena Kowalska, who would later be known as Sister Maria Faustina, was not a theologian or a scholar. She was a simple, uneducated woman from a poor Polish family, the third of 10 children. From the outside, there was nothing to suggest she would become a conduit for celestial secrets. Yet it is often in the most humble of hearts that heaven chooses to plant its most profound truths. From a young age, Helena felt a calling, a deep, unshakable pull towards a life dedicated to God. Her journey was not easy. She was met with rejection and hardship, but her faith never wavered. When she finally entered the convent of the Sisters of Our Lady of Mercy, she took on the most menial of tasks, working in the kitchen, the garden, the gatehouse. She was quiet, diligent, and almost invisible to the world. But in the silence of her heart, a universe of divine communication was opening up. Jesus began to appear to her, not in fleeting glimpses, but in long, detailed conversations. He entrusted her with a message so critical for our times that he called her his secretary. Her mission was to write down everything he told her in a diary, a document that would become one of the most important mystical texts in modern church history, Divine Mercy in My Soul. This diary is not just a collection of pious thoughts, it is a raw, first-hand account of a soul's journey into the very heart of God's mystery. It details visions of heaven, purgatory, and yes, the terrifying reality of hell. It contains prophecies, promises, and prayers given directly by Christ for the salvation of humanity in the last days. But these visions were not a gift without a cost. Saint Faustina bore an immense burden. She was often misunderstood by her fellow sisters, doubted by her superiors, and physically and spiritually tormented by the forces of darkness who despised the message of mercy she was spreading. She suffered from illness, but her greatest suffering came from the visions themselves, especially the ones that showed her the reality of souls lost forever. She was being prepared for something. Each vision, each conversation was a piece of a much larger puzzle. Jesus was building a foundation within her so she could grasp the full power and importance of his ultimate request, a specific devotion tied to a specific time. But before Jesus revealed the secret of the 3 o'clock hour, he first had to show her exactly what she was praying to save souls from.
What did St. Faustina see in the terrifying abyss of hell?
The details she recorded will chill you to the bone, and they are essential to understanding the power of this specific moment in time. Stay with me, because what comes next is the foundation for everything. Guided by her guardian angel, Saint Faustina was led on a journey that few mortals have ever taken. She descended into what she called the chasms of hell, a place of immense and unimaginable torment. She would later write in her diary with a trembling hand, "I am writing this by the command of God, so that no soul may find an excuse by saying there is no hell, or that nobody has ever been there, and so no one can say what it is like." The first thing she describes is not fire or chains, but something far more profound. It is a vast, suffocating space filled with a darkness so complete it was a palpable presence. This was not merely the absence of light, but the absolute and eternal absence of God. This, she wrote, was the first and greatest torment of the damned. To know that the source of all love, all joy, all peace is lost to them forever. It is an agony of the soul that dwarfs any physical pain. Then she describes the other tortures, each flowing from this first terrible reality. The second torment is the perpetual remorse of conscience. Imagine every sin, every act of unkindness, every missed opportunity for grace, replaying in your mind for eternity, not with the hope of forgiveness, but with the searing knowledge of its final consequence. A constant internal fire of regret that can never be quenched. The third torment, she explains, is the finality of it all. The knowledge that one's condition will never change. There is no hope, no possibility of relief, no end to the suffering. The seal of eternity is placed upon their despair, making every other torment infinitely worse. It is the absolute certainty that this is forever. She then saw the fire, but this was not a fire that consumes wood or flesh. She described it as a spiritual fire, a fire that penetrates the very soul without destroying it, a fire of pure anguish. Many theologians believe this is the very love of God, which for a soul in a state of grace is bliss, but for a soul that has definitively rejected Him is experienced as unbearable agony. Added to this were the perpetual darkness and a horrifying, suffocating stench. And in this darkness, the souls were not alone. Saint Faustina saw that they were in the constant company of Satan and the other fallen angels. They are not comrades in their suffering, but eternal tormentors, filled with a burning hatred for the souls they helped lead to this place of ruin. And finally, she described the seventh and perhaps most crushing torment, a horrible, soul-crushing despair, a hatred of God, coupled with the terrible knowledge that He is the only source of happiness. Curses, blasphemies, and a rage that only feeds the eternal cycle of their own misery. She noted something chillingly specific. She wrote, "I noticed one thing, that most of the souls there are those who disbelieved that there is a hell. They spent their lives denying its existence, only to find themselves condemned to it for eternity." This horrifying vision wasn't an act of divine cruelty. It was an act of profound, if severe, mercy. God needed Faustina to understand the eternal stakes. He needed her to feel the weight of a single lost soul, so that she could then understand the infinite power of a single moment of grace. And this is where the mystery begins to unfold. How does this terrifying reality of eternal loss connect to a specific time of day? Why was she shown this abyss before being given the key to unlocking an ocean of mercy? What is the link between this vision of hell and the clock striking 3? The vision was a heavy cross for her to bear, but it was absolutely necessary. For one cannot truly appreciate the power of a rescue until they understand the peril of what they are being rescued from. After showing her the abyss, Jesus then began to reveal the antidote. He gave her the key to a floodgate of grace,
a moment in time so saturated with divine power that it could snatch souls from the very precipice of that eternal darkness. This key was the 3 o'clock hour. Why this specific time? Because it is the moment of greatest love and greatest agony in human history. At 3 in the afternoon, on a hill outside Jerusalem, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, breathed his last.
It was the moment he cried out, "It is finished." In that instant, the great work of redemption was completed. In his conversations with Saint Faustina, Jesus himself explained the significance of this hour. He told her, as recorded in her diary, "At 3 o'clock, implore my mercy, especially for sinners, and if only for a brief moment, immerse yourself in my passion, particularly in my abandonment at the moment of agony. This is the hour of great mercy for the whole world." Think about those words. The hour of great mercy for the whole world. It's not just a time to remember a historical event. According to this revelation, 3 p.m. is a moment when the spiritual reality of Calvary becomes present and accessible to us in a unique and powerful way. The floodgates of heaven, which were opened by the spear that pierced his side, are flung wide open again every single day at this hour. Jesus made a staggering promise to Faustina, a promise that extends to every one of us. He said, "In this hour, you can obtain everything for yourself and for others for the asking. In this hour, I will refuse nothing to the soul that makes a request of me in virtue of my passion." This is an almost incomprehensible promise. An open invitation from God to ask for anything, with the assurance that it will be heard, provided it is in line with His will and asked through the merits of His suffering. So now we can finally answer the question that brought you here. What happens in hell the exact moment the clock strikes 3 p.m.? Saint Faustina did not see a change for those already condemned, for their state is tragically final. Instead, she was shown something happening on the spiritual battlefield for souls who are in their final moments on earth, the souls who are dying at that very instant. At 3 p.m., as the torrent of divine mercy is unleashed upon the world, hell is cheated of its prize. Imagine the rage of the demonic forces. They have spent a lifetime tempting a soul, leading it down a path of despair and sin. They are there at the deathbed, ready to claim what they believe is rightfully theirs. The soul is weak, frightened, perhaps unrepentant. But then the clock strikes 3. Somewhere in the world, a person stops for just a moment to honor the passion of Christ. They say a short prayer. They immerse themselves in His mercy. And that single, simple act of faith, united with Christ's sacrifice, becomes a weapon of immense power. A wave of grace washes over that dying soul, offering it one final extraordinary chance for repentance. The demons are repulsed. The soul is given a light in its final darkness, a lifeline it can grasp. This is what happens. At 3 p.m., hell experiences a moment of profound defeat. It is an hour of frustration and fury for the forces of evil, as the mercy that flowed from the cross 2,000 years ago reaches across time and space to rescue souls on the very brink of damnation. It is a divine interruption, a heavenly intervention that the demons are powerless to stop. So, the power is there, the promise has been made. But how do we tap into it? What did Jesus specifically ask St. Faustina and all of us to do at this sacred hour to unleash this torrent of grace and thwart the plans of the enemy? The instructions are surprisingly simple, yet profoundly deep. The instructions Jesus gave were not for mystics or cloistered nuns alone. They were for you, for me, for the busy mother, the overwhelmed office worker, the student facing an exam, the elderly person in their home.
The beauty of this devotion is its profound simplicity and its radical accessibility. He did not ask for grand gestures or impossible sacrifices. He asked for a moment. The first and most fundamental practice is simply to stop. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, at 3 in the afternoon, pause, if only for a single fleeting moment. It is an act of spiritual defiance against the rushing torrent of the world. In that brief pause, you acknowledge the most important moment in history. You turn your heart, your mind, your soul towards Calvary. It is a conscious choice to step out of the mundane and into the sacred. Even if you are in a crowded room or a noisy street, you can create a silent interior chapel in your heart for just a second. This act alone, this simple turning of your thoughts to Him in His agony, is a prayer that pierces the heavens.
It aligns your spirit with the great river of mercy flowing from His heart. But Jesus invites us to go deeper. He said, "Immerse yourself in my passion." This isn't just a mental recollection, it's a spiritual participation. Try to place yourself there, at the foot of the cross. Contemplate His wounds. Think of His thirst, a physical thirst that symbolized His immense spiritual thirst for the love of souls. Consider His feeling of abandonment as He cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" By immersing yourself in these realities, you are not just remembering an event, you are uniting your own small sufferings, your own feelings of loneliness and pain, with His infinite sacrifice. Your personal struggles gain a new, redemptive meaning when they are joined to His. For those who have more time, Jesus recommended 2 specific devotions. The first is to make the way of the cross, the stations of the cross. To walk, either physically in a church or spiritually in your imagination, the path He walked to His death. Each station is a meditation on His love and suffering, and to do this at the 3 o'clock hour is to walk with Him in real time, spiritually speaking. The second recommendation was to visit Him in the most blessed sacrament, to go before the tabernacle in a Catholic church where He is truly present, body, blood, soul, and divinity. To be in His physical presence at the very hour of His death on the cross is an act of profound intimacy and power. It is to kneel before the source of all mercy at the very moment it is being poured out upon the world. But there is a crucial condition attached to all of this. Jesus told Faustina that our prayers at this hour must be made in virtue of my passion. What does this mean? It means we are not approaching the Father based on our own goodness or merits. We are not saying, "Look at me, I am praying, so I deserve to be heard." Instead, we are appealing to the infinite value of Jesus' own sacrifice. We are saying, "Father, do not look at my sins or my unworthiness. Look at the suffering of your beloved Son. For the sake of His sorrowful passion, have mercy on us and on the whole world." It is the prayer of a humble child who knows they have nothing to offer, but can point to the heroic act of their older brother. This is the key that unlocks everything. But what about the practicalities of modern life? What if you are in a meeting with your boss, or driving a car, or performing surgery at 3 p.m.? Jesus foresaw this. He told Faustina, "As often as you hear the clock strike the 3rd hour, immerse yourself completely in my mercy, adoring and glorifying it." If you are unable to adore my mercy by praying the way of the cross, then at least step into the chapel for a moment. And if you cannot enter the chapel, immerse yourself in prayer there where you happen to be, if only for a very brief instant. There are no excuses. A silent thought, a glance at a crucifix, a whispered prayer from the heart. "Jesus, I trust in you." That is enough. In that brief instant, you connect your soul to the torrent of grace, and you can offer it for a dying sinner somewhere in the world. These practices are powerful. They are a direct line to the heart of God.
But beyond these general devotions, did Jesus give St. Faustina a specific tool, a powerful prayer tailor-made for this hour of mercy? Did he provide a spiritual weapon so potent it could disarm divine justice and plead for the entire world? The answer is yes, and it is a prayer he dictated to her word for word. One evening in her cell, on September 13, 1935, the answer came not as a gentle whisper, but in a vision of terrifying grandeur. She wrote, "I saw an angel, the executor of divine wrath. He was clothed in a dazzling robe, his face gloriously bright, a cloud beneath his feet. From the cloud, thunderbolts and flashes of lightning were springing into his hands. And from his hand they were going forth, and only then were they striking the earth." Saint Faustina understood immediately what she was seeing. This was not a random storm. It was divine justice, poised to strike a particular city in Poland for its sins. She began to pray, to beg God to spare the city, but she felt a profound powerlessness. Her own prayers, she realized, were not enough to appease this just anger.
As despair began to set in, the Holy Trinity appeared before her, and in that moment she heard words praying within her soul, words she had never heard before. She described it as an interior locution, a prayer being given to her directly from heaven. Compelled by this inner grace, she began to repeat the words she was hearing. "Eternal Father, I offer you the body and blood, soul and divinity of your dearly beloved Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, in atonement for our sins and those of the whole world. For the sake of His sorrowful passion, have mercy on us and on the whole world." As she repeated this prayer, something miraculous happened. She saw the angel become helpless. He could no longer carry out the punishment. The instrument of divine justice was disarmed by this simple, powerful plea for mercy. This was the birth of the chaplet of divine mercy. This prayer, often prayed on rosary beads, is a spiritual weapon of almost unimaginable power. Let's break down why. The main prayer, the one that stopped the angel in his tracks, is a masterclass in heavenly negotiation. We are not offering our own feeble good works or sacrifices. We are taking the most precious thing in all of creation, the Son of God Himself, and presenting Him to the Father. Think of the audacity and the profound faith of this act. It is like a child who has done wrong, coming before a king, not with excuses, but holding up the king's own beloved, perfect Son, and saying, "For His sake, forgive me." What father could refuse such a plea? We are appealing to the Father's infinite love for His Son. We are reminding Him of the price that was already paid. And the response, repeated over and over, "For the sake of His sorrowful passion, have mercy on us and on the whole world," reinforces this plea. We are not asking for mercy because we deserve it. We are asking for it because of what Jesus endured. We are pointing to the cross, to the nails, to the crown of thorns, to the pierced side, and saying, "This is our claim. This is our reason for hope." Jesus Himself attached incredible promises to the recitation of this chaplet. He told Faustina, "When this chaplet is said by the bedside of a dying person, God's anger is placated. Unfathomable mercy envelops the soul, and the very depths of my tender mercy are moved for the sake of the sorrowful passion of my Son." This is the promise that ties everything together. A dying sinner, even one who has lived a life of terrible crime, can be saved if this prayer is offered for them. At that final moment, Jesus promises that He will not appear to that soul as the just judge, but as the merciful Savior. This chaplet, especially when prayed at the 3 o'clock hour, becomes a shield that protects a dying soul from despair and from the final attacks of the enemy. It is the practical application of the grace that floods the world at that sacred time.
But a prayer this powerful, a revelation this profound, could not remain hidden in a private diary. So how did this secret weapon of mercy escape the confines of the convent and begin to change the course of history, even in the face of immense opposition? The journey of this devotion from a nun's private diary to a worldwide spiritual phenomenon is a story of miracles, misunderstandings, and ultimate triumph. After St. Faustina's death from tuberculosis at the young age of 33, her diary and the message of divine mercy fell into a period of obscurity and even suspicion. The world was plunging into the darkness of the Second World War, the very time for which this message was intended, yet it remained largely unknown. In 1959, the Holy Office in Rome, the very department responsible for doctrinal purity, issued a ban. They prohibited the circulation of images and writings promoting the Divine Mercy devotion in the form proposed by Sister Faustina. There were concerns about theological inaccuracies in the Polish translations of her diary that reached Rome. For nearly 2 decades, the message that Jesus himself had called mankind's last hope of salvation was officially suppressed by the church it was meant to save. From a human perspective, it seemed like a failure. The mission entrusted to St. Faustina appeared to have been thwarted. But divine plans are not so easily undone. During this period of silence, the devotion continued to spread quietly, organically, through the faith of the Polish people.
One of the most ardent supporters of this message was a young bishop from Krakow, a man who had experienced the horrors of both Nazism and communism firsthand. His name was Karol Wojtyla. Wojtyla, the future Pope John Paul II, saw in the message of divine mercy the only true answer to the overwhelming evil of the 20th century. He believed in the authenticity of Faustina's revelations with all his heart. When he became the Archbishop of Krakow, he initiated a new, thorough investigation into her life and writings. He commissioned a team of theologians to create a meticulous and accurate translation of her diary, correcting the errors of the earlier versions. This new scholarly analysis was presented to the Holy Office, and in 1978, just 6 months before Archbishop Wojtyla was elected Pope, the ban was completely reversed. The Vatican declared that the original concerns were based on faulty translations and misunderstandings. The floodgates were now officially open. As Pope John Paul II, he made the message of divine mercy a central theme of his pontificate. He called St. Faustina the great apostle of divine mercy in our time. He personally canonized her as the first saint of the new millennium in the year 2000. And in a move that shook the liturgical calendar of the Church, he officially established the second Sunday of Easter as Divine Mercy Sunday for the entire world, fulfilling a specific request Jesus had made to St. Faustina decades earlier. The story is filled with a beautiful and poignant irony. The very man who, as a local bishop, worked tirelessly to have the ban lifted, would, as the Pope, be the one to elevate the devotion to the highest honors of the Church. It was a clear sign of divine providence at work. Today, the image of the Divine Mercy, with its rays of red and pale light, hangs in churches and homes across the globe. The Chaplet of Divine Mercy is prayed daily by millions. And every day at 3 o'clock, a great wave of prayer circles the planet as believers of all nations pause to immerse themselves in the hour of great mercy. But what does this mean for us right here, right now? We are not popes or saints. We are ordinary people living ordinary lives. How can we, in our own small way, harness this incredible power and become apostles of mercy in a world that so desperately needs it? The answer is more personal and more profound than you might imagine. The story of St. Faustina is not just a historical account of a Polish nun. It is a living message, a divine intervention for our times. We have journeyed into the depths of hell through her eyes, not to be paralyzed by fear, but to be awakened to the urgency of our mission.
We have stood at the foot of the cross at 3 in the afternoon and felt the immense torrent of grace and mercy that flows from the pierced heart of the Savior. We have seen how a simple prayer, born in a convent cell, could disarm divine justice and become a lifeline for dying souls. This is not just knowledge to be stored away. It is a key that has been placed in your hands. The battle for souls is real, and it is happening right now, in the quiet moments of life and the agonizing final moments of death. You are not a helpless bystander in this cosmic drama. Through the simple practices revealed to Saint Faustina, you have been invited to become an active participant, an apostle of mercy. You have the power to stand in the gap for those who cannot pray for themselves. You have the ability to call down an ocean of mercy upon a world drowning in despair. The fury of hell at 3 in the afternoon is real, but it is the fury of a defeated enemy. It is the roar of a predator that sees its prey being snatched from its jaws by a love that is stronger than death. But this profound truth is not meant to remain just a beautiful idea. It is a call to action. So, how can you begin to weave this grace into the fabric of your own life, starting today? This is not about becoming a perfect saint overnight. It is about taking one small intentional step. Here is your practical guide. Let's call it turning signs into action. In the next 24 hours, do these 2 things. First, perform the sacred pause. Take out your phone right now and set an alarm for 3 p.m. When it goes off, no matter where you are or what you are doing, simply stop. Close your eyes for 10 seconds.
Take a deep breath and silently say the prayer. Jesus, for the sake of your sorrowful passion, have mercy on me and on the whole world. That's it. You will have participated in the hour of great mercy. Second, perform the mercy echo. Mercy received must be mercy given. Sometime today, perform one small conscious act of mercy for someone else. Let another driver merge in front of you. Give a genuine compliment to a coworker. Patiently listen to a family member without interrupting. Offer your small act to Jesus, uniting it with His great mercy. In the next 7 days, build upon that foundation. First, learn the weapon. Find one 15-minute slot in your week. Go to YouTube and search for How to Pray the Chaplet of Divine Mercy. Pray it just once. As you say the words, for the sake of His sorrowful passion, remember the vision of the angel of wrath being rendered powerless. Feel the spiritual weight of the prayer you are holding. Second, start a mercy journal. Just like Saint Faustina kept a diary, take a simple notebook and at the end of each day this week, write down 2 things. One moment you received mercy from God or another person, and one moment you showed mercy. This practice will open your eyes to the constant flow of mercy all around you. In the next 30 days, go deeper still. First, take on the forgiveness challenge. Is there someone in your life you hold a deep resentment towards, a wound that will not heal? For the next 30 days, every time your 3 p.m. alarm goes off, consciously offer your prayer for that specific person. You are not trying to feel forgiveness. You are choosing to act in favor of their soul. You are asking the ocean of divine mercy to wash over their life, and in doing so, it will wash over you as well. Second, immerse yourself in the Passion. Once a week for this month, take 20 minutes to slowly read and reflect on one part of Jesus' Passion. You could use the Stations of the Cross or the Gospel accounts. Don't just read the words. Place yourself in the scene. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? This fulfills Jesus' direct request to Faustina. The clock is always ticking, but at 3 o'clock, mercy answers. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next revelations.
Comment on what you thought of this video and what city you're watching from. Share this with someone who needs to know this message.